Hello everyone, welcome to the roughness part of the dark tiles tutorial. We're just going to continue on here. I just finished doing the base color. We're just going to go on to the roughness. So right now this is how our graph is looking. We're going to focus here on roughness, but we're going to start at the beginning. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull from this tile mask final here. Gonna pull up. We're gonna try and be like in the middle of all this. That's usually where my roughness goes. So I'm just gonna pull this guy about here. I think I'm gonna give myself a little bit more room. So I'm gonna grab all of the stuff from the base color and just move it up a little bit. Just to make sure I have clear amount of room there. Okay. So first thing we need is a blend. Our trusty blend. This is gonna go into the opacity. And then we need two uniform colors. So here they are. The black one's going to go in the middle, and this light one's going to go on top. Now notice, I explained this in the previous part, in the base color. This uniform color is set to default of our 2K texture size, and I changed the output format. It was, let me just change it back to default. This is what it should look like by default. I changed this to absolute, and I changed it to 16 bits per channel. I explained the reasoning in base color. I don't want to take up your guys' time by going over it again. You can find that in like the early parts of the base color. And then this one it's set to 16 by 16. I just reduced the output size to -7 on both the width and the height. Height. Okay. And then this is what we're gonna get from our blend. Oh, here are the values. Since we're working on roughness, I want all my uniform colors to be grayscale. So these are both set to grayscale. I know when you spawn in a uniform color, by default it's set to color. So let's change it to grayscale. And then these are the values. This is completely black, and then this is a 0.775. Now I'm going to plug this in so that we can start visualizing. Plug that into the roughness. Let's bring our roughness like halfway in between. So I'm actually going to lower this a little bit. Okay, so off the bat we can see our roughness taking effect here. So we're working in roughness, not glossiness. So black is going to be super glossy and white is going to be rough. So that's why right now our dirt is glossy. That's okay because we're going to be building and layering. So I'm not really worried about the dirt roughness right now. We're just worried about the tiles because that's what we started with. So now that we have this, we're actually going to pull from this guy down here and we're going to continue the road as well because we're going to be using this as we move on, especially here in this next part. I'm going to put a connector here so that I can create a blend by selecting this connection and it doesn't spawn it all the way down there. So let's put that over here. And this blend is going to be set to add linear dodge. And then we need a uniform color up top here. Again, I'm changing this to 16 by 16 to save on performance for my graph. Plugging that on top, and then we need a mask here. So we pulled from this guy. This is going to pull into a blend. I'm just going to get rid of that. And then this is going to go in here. And then we're going to end up needing a levels later, so I'm just going to get that set up now. And then we need to plug something into this guy here because he's empty. So we're going to pull from our number 5, our slanted chipping, and we're going to invert it. So where's our number 5? Over here. So actually I'm going to just pull this out a little bit to match up with number 5 here. We're going to pull from here and we're going to invert it. So now you see that I'm grabbing the dirt and I'm grabbing the sloping of the tiles, which is what I wanted. That's why I'm inverting. I want the slopes, so I'm doing it at the end of the slopes. I don't want to do it here or here. I want to do it right there. That's what I need. So I'm gonna push this to the top here, and it's gonna give me this. Again, I'm not worried about the dirt right now. I'm just worried about the tiles. So ignore the white here, and I'm focused on this grayscale. So you can see here that the tiles now are rougher here than they are on the surface. So that's in the mask. So when we add the mask, you can see here that this is rough, or this is less rough than this. And the idea here is that the dirt is creeping onto the tile, and thus the bottom is rougher. Okay. Now for the levels, we need to change our settings to 0.1 on the level that high. So let's go over here and just change this to 0.1. So before, after. It's very subtle, but you can see that there's some roughness being added here. Maybe we should increase it a little bit more. Let's go with that. Again, I'm not worried about the dirt right now. We're going to layer something completely different on top. Okay, so let's continue on. Now for this part, we're going to go way down past 9. So 9's here. We're going to go like over here. So let's put a connector right here. Let's get rid of this connector. Let's get my blend all the way over here. Now we need our mask here, which is this guy. Except we're gonna invert it. So let's see where we at. We're like over here. Create a connector. And then double click it to make sure it's the one we want. It is. I'm gonna drag out. Oops. We're gonna do an invert. I feel like I'm really far away, so let's move this in a little bit more. And then we need to grab our this guy. So let's follow this road. So you can select the string or the road. And then we're going to need a connector right here. We're just placing it above the previous one. And for this one, we're going to just do a connector here. And this is going to plug into another invert as well. Now the idea here is that I want to have varying degrees of roughness for individual tiles. So the tiles that are lower, closer to the ground, are going to be a little bit rougher than the tiles that are higher. And obviously the idea is that they're lower and they're more likely to get covered by dirt and thus making it rougher. So I'm grabbing the elevation, but remember the elevation, the height, white means it's the highest point, but white in roughness means it's the roughest point. And we want the inverse of that. So I'm inverting the height. So technically this dark tile in height will be the lowest. But because I'm inverting it, it's become the glossier. So the opposite of the roughest. And then I am going to drive this through a range so that I can squish the values, because I don't want the difference in tiles to be that drastic. Just because it's farther into the ground, like let's say 1 inch or 1 centimeter, the roughness difference isn't going to be that great. So I don't want to go like, okay, this one's going to be glossy and this one's going to be rough. It's obviously going to be a very subtle change. And we want to do 0.05 and 0.05. Because we're going to be adding. So we want to add a small amount of roughness. That's why I'm lowering the position very low. And then I'm making the contrast from this to very little. Hopefully that makes sense. And then we're going to need a blend here. I'm going to plug this into the opacity. Actually, what did I do here? Hold on, I need to figure out what this doesn't look right to me. Okay, yeah, this is, I don't know why, I must have not been paying attention, but we actually don't need this. But we do need the what was connected into that. And it doesn't go into the opacity, it goes into the foreground, and it needs to be changed to multiply. Yeah, because I'm trying to exclude the dirt. So I'm using this mask, and I'm multiplying it by 0, the dirt. That way, we get rid of the in-between. That's all. Okay. I'm going to fix that on my end real quick, or I already did on my original. Okay, so it should look like this, so let's check. Let's plug this into here. And it needs to be set to add linear dodge. There we go. So it's very subtle, but some of these surfaces on these tiles are rougher than others. Now I'm going to get rid of this histogram range so that you guys can, or I'm going to hide it so you guys can see what it would be if I hide this. So clearly you can see that like these right here are a different roughness than these. And then this one is also a little different than these, and that's because of this. Here we're adding very little. So we're adding to this. So this one's technically the brightest because we're adding by almost like a very high number. So by bringing the range back, I'm making the differences between them subtle, and that way it's hard to notice, but you can tell here that there are varying degrees. Okay, so let's move on from that. Let's do our blend. This blend's going to be add linear dodge. And for this part, we're going to add our cracks. So let's go to our shallow cracks. We're going to pull from it, and we're going to invert. Then we need another blend, and this one's going to be set to multiply. And we need to multiply, obviously, what is not cracks or like crevices, like cuts into our tiles. So we need this guy again. We've used this guy many times. And I think he's this one. So let's check. Yep, this is it. So now we're getting just what we need, which is covering our slopes again. We're just going to be adding more on the slope. And now we're going to be adding some roughness to our, our surface damage and cracks. So I'm going to plug that in here. So now you can see that our crevices are getting rougher. So before, you can see here in the 3D viewport, after, before, after. And the purpose here is obviously that dirt accumulates there, that the exposed damaged stone surfaces are rougher than the smoother, flat, human smooth surface. And it creates a very nice contrast rather than all the tiles just kind of looking uniform. Now we're breaking up and adding some more variety. Oh, there's a storm coming. Let's get this done. Okay. So now that we added that, let's keep moving. Now it seems like here in my main graph, we actually move all the way down. So we're going to go all the way down to about here. I'm going to add a connector behind it so that I can just add a blend, and then I'm going to delete it. Now this blend is going to be add linear dodge because we're trying to add on top it, on top it, on top. So we're adding what's below it with what's going to go on top. Normally we use copy, but this is another way of doing it. Now for this part, what we're going to do is, you see these little splashes that we made with the base color? I actually want to integrate them into the roughness information. Not only are they there for color variation and color detail, but I also want them to actually play a role in the roughness. So we're gonna just go down the line here, and we're gonna start with this guy first. So let's move back a little bit, and we want to pull from after the vector warp scale, because obviously we want to make sure we're keeping the location intact. So we're going to pull from it into a, you guys probably guessed it, a levels. And then we're going to plug that into here. And actually, I'm going to dock this so that it keeps it a little cleaner. And then I'm going to do a color uniform. And again, this is set to 16 by 16. Keep it in on L8 is fine. This is going to go on top. And it's set to grayscale. If you spawn a new uniform, we change to grayscale. And then we're using a value of 1, and I'm going to dock that as well. Now, for the levels, we need to do these values. So actually, I'm just going to grab it from the other graph. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to paste it, and then you guys can see it. And I'm just going to fix this real quick. And I think what I did here is I did a mix of auto levels, so don't hit auto levels. Just try and round these up. So this could be like 0.175. This could just be 1. That is 0.55, and then this is 0.1. And the reason why this is 0.1 is because I'm gonna dock that. Press D to dock. So let's see what it did. So this is before and after. Before, after. Now let's see it on the 3D viewport. Before, you can see that it's kind of flat here. And then when we bring it back, now we have some roughness. And if we look up, it has to do with our little noise thingy. So you can see right here, this matches this, which is coming from here, which is where this color one right here is. Now that's why we have different levels. We have levels for our base color because we want to, impact how much we want it to go through, but then that's not exactly going to match one-to-one with the roughness. So we have our own independent levels for the roughness. Okay, so next line, or next up, we're just going to go down the line here. So it's going to be pretty simple. It's going to be a lot of the same. So I'm just going to grab these 3 guys right here. I'm going to copy them and I'm going to paste them. Actually, yeah, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to unplug everything. That way they're just sitting there by themselves, and I'm going to copy it, I'm going to paste it, I'm going to move this one down the line a little bit. Now I'm going to make a connector here, and I'm going to plug this into the middle, and this in here. Now that's going to mess up our roughness because there's nothing plugged into these. That's okay. We can delete this guy. And then let's see, we need to pull now from the next one in line, which is the one with the blue uniform color. And again, we're going to pull after the vector warp. So this is going to go into the levels. Actually, I'm going to delete this levels. And I'm going to make sure that it's always a fresh one plugged in, because this is when I have the existing values of this guy, which we're going to have to edit. Okay, so then once that's plugged in, this is the values that we want, not these. Hold on, let me get the right ones. Sorry about that. Okay, these are the values you want. And again, you can just round up for this one as well. And again, we're just layering. So now we have this. So now our tile surfaces are becoming way more interesting. Because if everything's just flat, then you're not going to really get a nice render because the light is just going to play the same evenly. And by adding some more contrast in your roughness, it's going to give it some more variation and make it more interesting. Okay, so let's move this down, create a connector here. Now remember, we switched this level, so this level is going to be a fresh new default where everything's set to the default values. And the reason why this looks different is because this is the color settings. If you plug in a grayscale, it changes to the one that we've come to know and love. But because right now it's it doesn't know what it is yet because there's nothing plugged in. It just the color is the default, and I guess this is like RGB and then like alpha, and I think that's why there's four. But with grayscale, you really just work with one. Okay, so move on the line. We need to go with this guy, the purple. So we're gonna pull from here. And actually, we're like moving way too far down compared to where we should be. So let's move this guy right here, then this guy right here. And you can try and match this blend with this blend to keep yourself organized. And then this blend would match up with this blend. But I'm not going to take the time. I don't want to waste your guys' time. Okay. So now we have to change the levels because right now it's at the default. So it's just kind of blanketing everything. So let's go here. And what we need to do is, I'm just going to copy paste it again. It's going to be a better way to do that. And these are the settings. So let's just do like 645 for that one. Let's do 0.94. Just keep it nice and easy for you guys. So again, we're just layering more and more. Nothing really much to add there. Is there a way to just reset this? Aside from doing all this. I guess that works. Okay. So we're going to go next one in line, which is going to be this one. It's always good to use, you don't always have to use, you can add like completely random noises that have nothing to do with your base color. But I think sometimes it's a good idea to use your base color because that way, you know, this noise here has a purpose and not just the color, but also the roughness. And I think it's good sometimes that your color matches your roughness. But it doesn't always have to be the case. Okay, so let's plug this in here. Let's continue our connection. Let's line this up with this guy. And then this levels is going to be these are the values. Just more another pass. Now here we are going to do this is from the original. For this one we're going to do the diamonds now. So let's do a blend here. And all these levels are 16 by 16 and they're white. Let's get our, now for this one, it's going to be a little different for the uniform color, so I'm going to do it this way, so I can show you guys. I'm going to plug this in. I'm going to undock it, press D again. And for this one, we need the diamond mask after the ground mask. So diamond mask after ground, we're going to pull from here. And plug that into the levels, because we want to get the mask for the diamonds after the dirt has been subtracted from it. And we're going to get this. Now we're doing copy on this one, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, we're doing a copy. And because we're doing a copy, then we're just saying, hey, put this input on whatever this mask is. So because this mask is pure white, then it's like put whatever value we have input it into the foreground into that. So I'm going to reduce the uniform color to 0.2. So let's find a diamond here. And then I'm going to just lower this because we're making it glossier. And you can see here the diamond changing. It should be 0.2. Because we want these to be like shiny metallic crystals. I don't know if crystal's going to be metallic, but this is fantasy, so it's okay. Okay, then I'm going to dock these two. and that is our base roughness for the diamonds. God, I'm piling up connectors here. Okay. Now we are going to add our dirt. So now we're going to start worrying about our. That's why I don't care about these seams here, because we're going to cover that with dirt. So I am going to just grab all of this. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to undock this so that you guys can see. It's going to be a little different. This is the value. We'll come back to it in a second. What we need to plug into here now is our dirt mask, which if we go back over here, that is this guy. So let's follow that road over here, and we're just going to pull into here. Now we're going to do the same thing that we did with the diamonds, where we're keeping this white, so we technically don't need this levels, but we'll just keep it there because we like it. And then we're just going to mess around with the uniform color. So you see here, because we're doing copy, whatever this is whatever the dirt is. So what was it? We did 0.65 is going to be the value for the dirt that we're going with. So this is the start of the dirt. So right now it's just flat. So we're gonna build on top of it. Okay. Next, we need to do another blend, and this this blend's gonna be add, and we're gonna do a grayscale uniform, 16 by 16 with a value of 1, just white. And the main thing here we have to worry about is what is being plugged into the opacity. So for this, it seems like we need to pull from this guy. If you guys remember the tricking that we did in the previous episode with the ambient and the shadowing. So we're going to pull from this blend here into a levels. And I'm not going to dock this one because we're going to actually use this later for the metallic portion of the tutorial. Plug that in here. Actually, I'm just going to do this. I keep forgetting to get used to this new way of doing tutorials. And then these are the settings for this one. We're just lowering the level out high to 0.1. So you can see here what it's doing. We're just blending in another layer of like creeping dirt on top. Okay. Now next, just gonna plug it in. All right, this blend mode is gonna be subtracting, and this is gonna be white as normal. And then what we're going to subtract here is going to be this guy, or this after this blend. Here is where we kind of added the coloring to the to our dirt. So this is what it was before. Whoops. And then this is what it was after. So then these like noise patterns, these blushes, are going to be what are going to be driving this whoops, this bit of the roughness here. So like I said, these are the settings for this guy. And then if we look at what it's doing, it's making these bits glossier or more wet. So we see the changes here. It's adding some nice contrast to our dirt now. So it's not looking as flat. So now we have some more interesting variety on top of the ground surface there. And feel free to play with the values as usual. We're going to move on down again. Like so. Plug that in here, plug that in there. Boom, bam, bing. And then what we're going to plug into this levels, these are the settings by the way, we are going to do this guy right here. Again, we're trying to use all the noises that we did for base color for our roughness as well, so that the color and the roughness play together. This guy is white as usual. We're doing an add linear dodge on this one. And here you can see the difference. So now we're reintroducing more roughness on top of the dirt. So we're always going between making it look more wet, making it look rougher, making it look, cause see right now the difference in dirt is like way too drastic here. So we're kind of evening it out by adding another layer on top. So again, just all about layering. Okay. Now what we want to do is we're going to be adding the roughness now, the base roughness for the rocks. So I'm just gonna paste this here. Plug that into the middle, not over there. Oops. Now these rocks are gonna be white as usual. This uniform color is gonna be white. And we made right here is where we got our grayscale value. And I want to keep this for the rocks. I want the top of the rocks to be rougher than like the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pull from that guy. Plug that in. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one, sorry. This should go in here. Okay, so there's our rocks. And we're going to be doing a copy for these rocks. And it's going to be a uniform white on top. So before, after, before, after. Okay. So now we have our rock roughness. Now this part is going to be a little bit different. Let's grab this and paste it over here. Now this is a blend with add linear dodge and then a uniform color of white as usual. And then we're going to add some surface detail. Now this detail is not in the color. So like I said, you don't always have to use the color. So this is just a little bit extra. I don't want this in the color. So this is just for roughness. So let's do a moisture noise. Noise? No. Noise. Yeah, noise. Okay. Alright, moisture noise. And then we're going to do a 2D transform afterwards. And what we did here is we just divided it by 2 and I moved it a little bit. And the exact values are right here for the 2D transform. Then after the 2D transform, we do our vector warp grayscale because obviously we don't want this noise to be uniform. We want this to break up based on the tiles. Then we're going to need a levels. And then this is going to plug into our opacity here. So you can see here the difference. Even though we've been adding variation, it still kind of looks flat compared to what it's going to do now. So now we're adding some more roughness on top. But this is before we plug in our vector warp map here. So we still need to do this part. Because right now the noise is going from this brick to this brick and we want to break that up. So we are going to pull from our actually we're going to backtrack this guy. We're finally going to use this guy. We made this guy back in our the first part of the height and we're finally going to use it. So we're going to pull from this guy. And he's gonna go like about like right below where that stuff is just now. So I'm just gonna put it like down here. And then we also need, oh, my spaghetti's getting confused. So let's grab these colors and bring them down because we need to continue this guy. So we need 2 of these color roads. And this one corresponds to the flip fill from the very beginning. It's just coming from this guy. And then this top one, like I said, it's coming from that flood fill from the diamonds. Flood fill to color random. Now these 2 guys are going to blend together to make a super random flip fill color. I don't think it matters which one goes where. Because we're right now what we're trying to do. Actually, I'm gonna swap them because I want the diamonds to be on the foreground. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to merge the two, basically. I'm trying to put the diamonds on top of the tiles. So we need a mask for that because we're gonna be doing switch. Let me see. So first, let's get the mask of the let's get the mask of the diamonds after the dirt. So diamonds after ground. This guy. And plug that in here. And now we can see that it's working. Why did I have it set to switch? If we do copy, I don't know why. From my understanding, this should work with copy. It should look like switch. But for some reason, switch is giving me the result that I would expect from copy. So I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to accept it. Okay? But this is giving me what I wanted. Now, I need to mask out the dirt. I don't want the dirt in here. So I'm going to do a blend. And we need to pull from, I think it's this guy. Yeah, from this dirt mask. Now the special thing here is that we're working with color, so I can't subtract the grayscale from a color. It has to be color and grayscale in most situations. So this is one of those situations. So I'm going to use a gradient map to turn it from a grayscale into a color output, and then I'm going to plug this into the foreground. And just like a grayscale, anything multiplied by 0 or by black is going to give you black. So obviously this isn't what I want. I want the inverse of this. So let me figure out why it's not doing it. I need to, you can go into the gradient editor and then just hit invert colors. Well, if you hit invert colors, nothing happens because there aren't any like indicators or notches. So I'm just going to click in the middle and I'm going to delete the middle one. And I'm going to hit invert. That'll invert my mask and that should give me what I want. Yes. This is what I want. So I have my diamonds are different colors. My tiles are different colors and they're being spaced out by my dirt. And then this is going to go in here. Now it's breaking up our moisture by tiles, by diamonds, and by dirt. So you can see that there's like a separating line between the dirt, the diamonds, and the tiles. So that's what we were looking for. Now this is being driven back into our blend, and now our variation of our roughness that we were just doing, our moisture noise, is now broken up properly. So now the noise from here isn't carrying over to the top of this tile. It's all broken up. So we have a way more interesting surface. Okay. Now I need to copy this. Now for the next part, we're almost done with roughness, guys. Maybe like another 10 more minutes if we pick it up. Plug this guy in here as usual. Boom, boom, boom. This guy is a white grayscale. Remember the sizing. Now we need to plug something into our levels here. These are the settings. I'm going to get them set up already. Now here we're going to pull from the dirt mask because now we want to add this roughness information. So we're just going to pull. I am going to create a connector and plug that in here because we're going to use this later for the metallic portion. Okay. So again, let's see the difference. So before, after, before, after. So this is adding a little bit of roughness around our rocks because of our dirt mask here. So let's look at it in the 3D viewport. Let's look at it near the rocks. And it's creating way more interesting contrast where the rocks connect with the tiles, so that makes them look more separated. Because now we have some roughening around the rocks. All right. I am going to copy paste this map here. Now this is a grunge rough dirty, so just type in grunge rough dirty. Get this guy, and then these are the settings for him. Then we're going to do a transform to D. And for this guy, I multiplied by 2. Wait, is that what I did? No, sorry, I divided by 2. I was confused which way. I divided by 2, that's all I did. And then I blurred it, because I didn't want it to be as sharp. So I blurred it a little bit. And then our trusty vector work, because we want to break it up as usual. Now for this one, I'm actually going to pull from this guy, because I want to do the same thing with the dirt. I want this to be on everything, but I don't want it to be continuous, so I'm using this color warp map. And then I am going to copy this levels, and these are the settings. You can probably just do 0.60 and then 0.2 down there, and then this is going to blend into a subtraction. This is going to go on top. So now I thought that our tiles were looking a little uniformly rough on top, so I wanted to add some breakup, so I subtracted roughness to make it look more wet, and that's what this does. See, so these kind of look like it's a little bit wet, a little bit damp, a little bit moist. And you can play. If you think that's too much, you can lower this to make it less or more subtle, I mean. So I'm going to undo and I'm going to go back to what I had, which is this stuff. Okay, 2 more sections and we're done with roughness. So let's keep moving down. Let's copy paste these guys. I think we can get rid of this guy by now. Okay. This blend is set to copy. And then this color up here, it's set to black. So I'm going to undock that, so I don't forget to mention that. Okay, let's make some room and we'll come back to these. This one's set to copy as well. 2 copies. Alright, we'll come back to this. So here we need a white noise. So right now is we're doing the sparkling bit that you saw in the preview. So this is noise called white noise, or this, just type in white noise. There's a fast one, which I think is like a, performance friendly. I am going to do a 2D transform. And for this guy, I multiplied it by 0.5. So let's do another one for now. I did this guy that multiplied by 2. Because I wanted a lot of like sprinkles or shavings, or just like specks. And then we're going to do a levels after that. And these are the values for that. So here is, we don't want these many. We want this density, but not this many. So I use the levels here to isolate them and make them more, like little specks. Okay. Then after this, I did a histogram scan to turn the roughness, or not the roughness, the gradient to solid white. And then once I did that, I blurred again to make them look like more roundish. To get these little round shapes. And then I did another levels. And then here, I think I just, yeah, I made them pop a little bit more. So these are the settings for the new one. And I think here I just slid them around, so you can just round up and round down and stuff. Don't worry about getting it that close. Okay, so then this is going to go into another blend, not that guy, into a subtract down here. Now we need to subtract something from this. What are we subtracting? Oh, okay. We're subtracting we want this to just be on the dirt. In the preview, you can see that these are also on the tiles, but that's because I want a different amount on the tiles. So for the dirt, I want the dirt to have way more of these like shiny bits, and then I want less on the rock, because the ones on the rocks, they're supposed to be like the ones that kind of got flown around from the dirt to the tiles, but the ones that are on the ground, it's almost like they made these tiles out of this ground material, and so the abundancy of these shavings from these crystals are found in the dirt. So I wanted the dirt to have more than the tiles. So that was the thinking behind that. Okay, so if we look back, we need to graph the mask that we used here. So let's track this down. Okay, so it's this guy, our trusty dirt mask. Just gonna move this up a bit. And then this is going to go into an invert. I'm going to invert that. And that's going to go on top here. So now you can see here that we're isolating it to just the dirt. So it's going around the tiles and around the diamonds. Okay, nice. Now we're going to do the layer for the shavings that are going to be resting on the tiles. So we're just going to pull from here. We're going to pull out, and then we're going to go into a histogram scan, because we're going to basically redo these steps here. So here we scanned. So here we're also going to scan. But we only want half of the amount, so I'm going to go with half. Then I am going to blur it, because we're doing the same thing we did in the other spot, by 0.3. And then we're going to level it. These are the settings for the levels. And then these guys are going to blend into this guy here. This should be set to add. I guess I forgot to do this on my graph, because mine's set to copy. It should be add. Whoops. Yeah, that's what it should be. Okay. Yeah, so you can see that there's a higher density in the dirt than there are on top. So that's exactly what we wanted. And then the reason why this is black instead of white is because we're doing copy, and we're telling these guys to just be black based on the our map here, because black means it's going to be super glossy. So now if we start looking around, well, if the light hits it, we're getting these little shiny bits here that are reflecting. There's one more little bit here that is going to be, actually, in the last episode I mentioned that there was one last thing we needed to do in the base color, but we needed to wait until the roughness. So I'm going to do that. So now I'm going to pull from this And this is going to go into a blend. We can leave this one at copy. Plug that in there. Let's get rid of this connector. And then we need a color. And obviously I want the color of the shavings to match the crystal, because that's what it's supposed to be. So we did orange, so I'm going to go from here. So that every time I change this color, it changes the color of the specs or the shavings as well. So now you can see here that now our shavings, our specs have color. Now if you think these are too big, you can, I think you just have to lower the blur. So let's say we go with like 0.1. Well, they do that, so actually let's not do that. Yeah, let me lower the blur a little bit. Don't lower it too much. So like 0.2. Because the blur is giving it the thickness basically. And if you don't want the specs on the rocks, you'd have to subtract the rocks. So you guys should be able to know how to do that. So I'll leave that to you guys if you guys want to take that route. All right. So yeah, now if you don't want to do orange, if you want to do something maybe like you can change this to like green maybe. That could be cool. Or maybe you want to do red. Maybe some purple. Oh, that's kind of cool. And then in the next one, I think that's it for roughness. In the next part, we're going to do metallic, and then we also need to do emissive because we're going to make these things, the crystals, give off light as well as the little specks. I don't know if I'm going to make the emissive its own part, maybe. But yeah, that's it for roughness, guys. I will see you guys on the next part. Peace.